A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production.
Biggest thing we can do is just get stops and run. Stops and run, guys. Push every time.
Extra session with Kiko Malicdem tackles everything about the world of sports, especially the one close to the host's heart, basketball. Updates, discussion, clarification, name it. Extra session has it. Extra session with Kiko Malicdem.
Okay, good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Extra Session with Kiko Malicdem here in Guerilla Podcast Philippines. Today is episode 10, and we are very lucky to have with us one of the explosive reinforcements to play in the PBA during the 1990s, an offensive juggernaut. He made sure that his team will not wither by supplying tons of points when it needed the most. Ladies and gentlemen, former San Miguel Beerman and former Shell import, Mr. John Bess.
What's up? Greetings, everybody in the Philippines, everybody in Manila, Makati, and Green Hills, Cebu, Palawan. I miss all of y'all. My favorite country in the world. I still tell people this to this day, that the Philippines is my favorite country. The people, outstanding, and I still keep in touch with some people. They still hit me up. But I'm honored to be here to talk to you today.
That's good, sir. Good day. So it's been a while since the Philippines heard from you. What's keeping you busy nowadays?
Well, since I stopped playing basketball in 2007, and when I came back to Memphis, I wanted to do some work in the school system to be around children, right? Yeah. So I've been around the world from 1993 to 2007, and I wanted to come back and work with children. So I became a police officer in the school system. So I was a police officer, school security for about 5 to 6 years, and then I became a videographer. I did a lot of editing, shot a lot of videos for the school district, and then now I'm the general manager of a radio station and TV station here in Memphis for the school system. So I've been very busy since I left the Philippines, but I took a lot of the experiences that I picked up in the Philippines, and I'm applying them to my life here now.
So, but basically, you've stopped playing ball. I mean, you've not.
Yes.
You've not. I mean, associated yourself with any basketball activities.
No, because you all know in the Philippines, I gave it 110%. Yes. Every night I was on the floor. And so after I stopped, I mean, nothing was wrong. I mean, my body is good. It's just I put a pounding on my body from, like I said, 1993 to 2007. I never took time off, and it was, go hard. So now I'm like, when I play basketball again, it's like it's leisurely, but I don't know about leisurely because I'm a fierce competitor. Yeah. And, I still, like I tell my son, I can still take you no matter what.
That's good. Now, you last played for the PBA, correct me if I'm wrong, around 2000 for former Shell Zoom.
Yep.
What happened next to you? Where did you play after that?
I think after I went to Shell is when I went to Germany. And when I was in Germany, I was very well in the Bundesliga over there. So I played for a team called Leverkusen, and then I played for Alba Berlin. And Germany was totally different from the Philippines. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But much love to my German fans. But I just pretty much stayed back in Europe when I left the Philippines.
As you can see on the picture, I mean, it was, memories.
Memories.
Yeah.
Is that mobile line?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mobile line. It's Alvin Teng. Actually,
Alvin Teng. Man, we had plenty battles, man.
Yeah, he has actually a son right now playing in the PBA.
So, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Those were the days.
Yes. And of course, a lot of PBA players or PBA fans were looking forward to seeing you again. Now, what was there any chance that that any team tried to bring you back to the league after the 2000 season?
Well, after the 2000 season, I posted up in Germany. Like I said, one team I played 1 year, and they signed me back for 2 more years. So I was locked over there for 3 years, and then I went to the top team. So it was like, nah, I got to stay here because the Philippines was listen. I'm gonna tell you this, and I want you to make sure all of the Filipino people and fans know that was my best years ever playing basketball, because what it did for scorers like me, if you play in the Philippines, you can play anywhere in the world. But if you come to the Philippines and you don't, capitalize on scoring ability, I seen a lot of people come and go, but I also seen people that did well in the Philippines, they're able to go to other places and play well. So the Philippines made me who I was, and that's where I started shooting a three-pointer, was when I came to the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
After I left the Philippines, I was shooting three-pointers for days. But before, I never shot three-pointers. So thanks to the Philippines.
Yes, and I've seen you play since I'm near the 40s. But for the benefit of the younger generation, how can you describe yourself as a player?
I would say I was a beast. The referees, all of the referees, and I think one of the referees had passed. I saw a couple years ago from when I was there. But I wanted to give the Filipino fans, excitement. I didn't want to be a quiet, boring player. I mean, that wasn't my style. If I was arguing with other teams and arguing at other coaches, even the PBA commissioner, I think we had some time, may he rest in peace, but we had some words a couple of times, because I wanted to show my teammates from Shell to San Miguel that I wasn't a pushover. I was real skinny in those pitches, but I had the heart of a lion. So I tell all young players, don't look at the size of the next person. If you got it in your heart that nobody's going to stop me, and I'm going to practice so I can be the best that I can be, you'll always be successful. Just don't listen, young players, don't listen to what other people is telling you. If they say you can't do it, if you practice every day, you stay ready.
I see. Now, based on research, your professional career spanned for 14 years. Now,
Right.
what was the moment that made you realize, it's time to hang my shoes?
Well, it really wasn't. I had 2007. I had some family issues that I needed to stay in the States at the time, and I thought about. I said, man, maybe it's time. But then it just was like, nah, you put in 14 hard years, and it was time to do something else. But at that time, I thought basketball was everything. But also, young players, basketball will take you up to a point in your life that life will continue. You may not be able to shoot that jump shot or slam dunk that ball, but you got years left of your life. So use basketball to your best ability to get you what you think you need. But once the knees start hurting or your back start hurting, you can't make that same jump shot. You got to always have something to fall back on. So make sure you're studying in college and high school and doing all that, because once that ball stops bouncing, you need to have something to fall back on.
Yes. And speaking of the PBA, when you first played in San Miguel, with San Miguel, I mean, how were you able to bring your talents to the PBA? Was there someone who recruited you or asked you to try out for this team?
Right. It was Bobby Rios. That was the man. I was in Puerto Rico, and the team was losing, and they was acting funny about the money, and Bobby was like, hey, you want to go to the Philippines? And I'm like, oh, okay. And they put me on a first class flight, and I was like, wow, Norman Black, I must give him credit. I'm gonna stop here, because Norman told me the very first day, if you do well and you keep your nose clean, you can have a long time in the Philippines. And he told me, play your game. And that was it. So if Norman Black didn't tell me those words, I had a different career in the Philippines.
I see. And what was your what was the memory that struck you the most when you played in the PBA? What was the best memory that you had?
The best memory was winning that championship
1998.
because Coach Perry, and man, salute to Coach Perry as well.
Yes.
I learned how to be a man when I left the Philippines with some leadership qualities that I learned from Coach Perry. His mom had passed during our championship, during that time, and watching him personally go through what he went through, but he still coached Benji, me, Donald Williams, Chris Jackson, Jerry Esplan. I mean, all of us, he had us as a focused group. So winning that championship was more than just, we won the championship. It was like, I learned some leadership qualities that I can take with me when I'm done with basketball. So learning a lot from Coach Perry and also the whole staff. It was just when they say it takes a team, it really took everybody, the assistant coaches, the ball boys, the drivers. We all was a focused unit, and I loved it. That was the most important time of my life.
Yes, you had battles, as you said. You had battles with the best from the PBA, such as Alvin Patrimonio, Jojo Mosa, then Ronnie Magsanok, and of course you have your teammates with Benji Paras. How was that experience?
That experience, it let me know that, some Filipino players that they weren't no punks. They was serious. They had heart. It was like, I don't care you, John Best. Yo, I'm Benji Paras. I'm Alvin Patrimonio. I'm all of these players. And it was like, I love to see the competitiveness in the Filipino players. And that's the one thing that I always remember, because people used to say, well, John, you go in the Philippines, all of those players are shorter than you, this, that. I said, not all of them are short, but some of the shortest players in the Philippines can come over to America and Europe and have more heart than a lot of those players that think they're number one or top players. So it was the heart of the Filipino players that I respected the most, because, man, it was some of them San Miguel Beerman, man, that I think his number was 25. I forgot his name, but he gave me the most. I'm talking about, he would hit me on my side. He did everything, but it was competitiveness every game in the Philippines.
Yes, and like what you said, the smallest player, I believe you played along with, against Johnny Barrientos, during that time, and it was considered one of the best Filipino prospects to, that has a chance to play in the NBA before.
Right, and he was at Alaska.
Yes, Alaska.
Yes. See, I remember. You got Sean Chambers and those guys over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had I was able to talk to Sean Chambers probably 3 episodes ago. Yeah,
okay.
He has good memories of the Philippine basketball also, and speaking of Coach Perry, I believe he's in the United States right now. He has migrated already there. And now, who do you consider your biggest adversary in the PBA? In a good way, okay?
The referee, no.
I remember that thing, when you were fouled, I believe, if my memory serves me right, you were fouled on a 3-point area, but the referee says, no, you go to the sideline. It's just a sideline inbound. You were very angry at the time,
I was very emotional, but the referees, I loved it. It was all entertainment. I'm an emotional player. That's what I picked up from the Philippines, because in the back of my mind, if I didn't score 30 points, I'm going home. And it was San Miguel's defense. I'm telling you, if I can remember that player's name, I think he was number 25.
35.
But he gave me the defenses that San Miguel played on me was the toughest. So it would be the whole San Miguel team, because since I played for them, they knew how I was. But when I always played against San Miguel, it was just like I saw some of the craziest defenses that I ever faced in my life. And I think, was it Ron Jacobs used to work with them?
Yes, the late great Ron Jacobs.
Yeah, the late great Ron Jacobs. So I think he told them, my weaknesses or something. And San Miguel, I love the competition with San Miguel.
Yeah, And of course, was there a PBA player, particular PBA player that made you say, wow, 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 when you saw him play?
Man, it was a couple. I forgot it. Was it the green team? What was it? The green team where they had two
Lucia?
tall players?
Santa
Santa
Lucia?
Lucia?
Yeah.
What was the tall center's name
Uh, if I'm not
back then?
mistaken, we have, there's also in Ginebra, Marlo Aquino, Zandro Limpot, Dennis.
Limput. Yes, yes, yes. I liked his game.
Yeah.
He was. It was something about him. He seemed real smooth. I never seen him hanging out at night. He seemed like he was a good, a good kid.
Yeah.
And was it a guy named Tang? Was it a Filipino American that came over? He had blonde hair back then.
Uh,
I forgot his name, but he was a Filipino American,
mm.
real big guy. I think he played for San Miguel too. He caught my eye, especially Chris Jackson,
Oh yeah,
Benji. So Chris made me tough every day because he was strong as hell. Excuse me, but he was very strong. And when he would put that arm on, I'm like, man, how is this man this strong? So yeah, I Benji Paras, it was so much. And Alan Kaidik, the way he shot the ball, that was just outstanding.
Yes. And until now, Alan Kaidik, and I mean, no one can replace Alan Kaidik in the national team because of his sharp shooting skill.
Right. Is he coaching? What is he doing now?
I believe he's a manager right now, but he was part of a coaching staff. Last time around, he was part of a coaching staff in a college in LaSalle, in one of the top college universities in the UAE.
Okay.
Now, in your own perspective, what was the difference of how the games were played before and now, and of course the type of players?
I mean, you were tougher back then. You were tough. You had to be tough. I don't care, who you were. You come to the Philippines, you had to be mentally tough because of the nightlife and because of, so many things, distractions. But then you had to be strong where when you got on the floor, you couldn't score 10 points and stay in the Philippines. I'm sorry. In my mind, I had to score 28 points or more while I was going home. And that goes back to Norman. I think Norman planted that seed in my head. Norman Black said, John, you got to get 30 or they sending you home tomorrow. And I was like, man, the food is good over here in the Philippines. I said, no, I got to go hard. But now I don't think the game is as physical. It's more finesse right now. I think a lot of the guys do not have the same physicality to deal with some of the players that I played against in the Philippines now. It's kind of soft right now. I mean, I don't want to say that the NBA is soft.
Yes.
It's not tough. I don't see a lot of tough guys, like, somebody that's really, really tough. I see a lot of finesse now. But back then, in the 90s, every night, I'm talking about I was dripping sweat and drink 6 Gatorades after every game, had the massages, after the game right there in the gym. It was strong back then.
You were saying earlier about the number 25 of San Miguel Beer. He was actually considered as one of the best defensive player along with Chris Jackson. That's Freddie Abuda.
Yes, that's it. Yes. But Freddie Abuda, salute to you, man. Thank you for making me a tough player because every time I saw him, I was like, man, it's going to be a dog fight.
Yeah. Well, speaking of number 25, in college and in the PBA, you wore jersey number 25. What was the story behind that number?
Well, I just looked at it as 2 + 5 is 7, and something about the number 7, was godly to me. Or just 25 was just, my number in college, and it just stuck with me. So when I played in one of my teams, I was number 3, and that was, I said 5 - 2 is 3. Then I was, I was 25 or 15 most of my life, but that 25 in the Philippines was very special.
I see. Now, well, actually, we have a friend, Coach Chris De La Cruz of Press One.
Uh-huh.
He actually, when I told him that I'll be talking to John Best, wow, he said the John Best of the of Formula Show. Yeah, he actually said, can you ask these questions? So
Okay.
basically, I'm asking the question, and the three best characteristics of Coach Perry Ronquillo, in your own perspective.
Oh, okay. Fierce,
Mm-hmm.
relentless, and that's a good one. Hold on, let me see. And cool, because he always kept cool, even when I was very upset in the game.
Mm.
JB, we need you. And I'm like, Coach, man, but they fouling the hell, they killing me, and they hit me. John, we got this. So he was relentless, and at the fact that he wanted to win, and he did whatever it took for us to win. And that was just, I mean, come on, man. You want a coach that would do anything to win. And he was fierce because when he wanted something to happen, he drew it up, and we better make sure we do what he said do, because he knew what we needed. He knew what we didn't know. And he drew up those plays, and all of us, I don't care the star power that we had on the team, we all got in line for Coach Perry because we drank the Kool-Aid that he was drinking, or we drank the Gatorade that he made, and we all was on the same page. So those are my three quality characteristics.
And how was the first stint in San Miguel different from your stint in Formula Shell?
At San Miguel, it was more pressure, right? It was more pressure because that was my first time in the Philippines. So I had growing pains, but I was getting fed from Norman Black, and I was getting wisdom from Alan Kaidik because he was my teammate at the time. And he was like, John, you could be a good player here. They were both telling me how they prepared me for when I came back to Shell. So when I came back, I had Alan in one ear, Norman in another ear. So now I'm ready. So I can come in and give it 100%. When I played for San Miguel, Norman Black was very straight up. John, if you don't score 30, you going home. That scared me. I played harder because of that. But San Miguel prepared me for my career in the Philippines, and I'll never forget that.
Okay. And what was your biggest disappointment playing in the PBA?
It was we was getting ready. We could have won. It was against San Miguel. If we would have won that game, we would have went to another championship, I believe. It was a playoff game, but they had our number, and it was like losing. And then it was a big bonus. We were supposed to get triple bonus if we won. And I mean, I was so sad after that. I was like, man. But it was a playoff game, and I think it was against San Miguel or Pure Foods. I forgot. But it was hard. It was a tough loss for us and for me personally.
Now, who was your? We'll go back to the San Miguel team. Who was your favorite teammate in San Miguel? Well, in San Miguel in 1995, and of course in Shell. Who was your favorite?
At San Miguel, it was Allen because I think he had a restaurant at the time, or it was at near the Shangri-La Mall, I think, some restaurant that we used to go to, and just listening to him and watching him, daily, how he shot the ball so well, and it was like I was a fan of him, but I was his teammate, but I was still a fan. Yeah. So that Allen, I would say Allen was the one for San Miguel. And Chris Jackson. I mean, I got to also shout him out because he kind of schooled me on being a black man in the Philippines. And it was like, you're like Filipino brother, like you're the brother. He said the original Filipinos were dark skinned, and he would tell me history about the Philippines. And I appreciated him for that because we went to go eat all the time, and he just schooled me on Filipino culture, and he helped me to maneuver through the Philippines, and also practicing against him every single day. I mean, that's the hardest thing I think. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. He played hard. I'm like, Chris, it's practice. But he kept preparing me. So when it was a game, it was easy.
Were you able to talk recently or in the
Yes,
past?
me, Chris and I, we stay in touch through Facebook. And I was in San Francisco last year, and I saw Coach Perry. We went and had lunch at in Chinatown. So that conversation was awesome, you know, because when I came out there, I told him I was coming, and it was just a good look, man, you know, because he's somebody who I really look up to. He like a second father. He's one of the only ones that I could say is like a second father to me.
Will there be, any travel plans for you to go?
I want to come back to the Philippines. I want to come back. Whoever, look, we got to talk to San Miguel, Shell. I want to come back because I want to come back without being, like not coming to play basketball. I would come talk to some schools or talk to some universities, talk whoever, but I would love to come back to the Philippines, man. I mean, that's a dream of mine. I gotta come back, but I don't want to come back with the pressure of, John, you got to score 30 points or you go home. It's like I want to come eat the beautiful food. Was it pancit? I missed the pancit.
Yeah.
That was some of the best food in all of the restaurants and the people. And when I went to this beach in Palawan, I forgot where the name of the beach though.
Corona.
I came back and I saw here 2 years ago, they said 2 of the top 10 beaches in the world were in the Philippines. And when I saw it in there, I said, yo, I've been there. So it was so many memories.
Yeah, but of course, like what you said, there will be no pressure this time,
Yes, yes.
But
Because when I think of Philippines, if I go, it's like, man, come on, John, you don't have to play. You can watch a game, but not have to, okay, halftime, John, you got to score 10 points first 10 minutes. You got to score. But I love that though. That's who made me who I am. And to be honest, having that in my mind now when I work, I got to work harder than everybody on my team now because it was instilled in me to always go hard. So the Philippines had a big effect on me.
Now, you said you were talking about Coach Norman. Well, until now, he's coaching in the PBA. What
he got
if
big money? He got big money.
Now, what if Coach Norman approaches you or any team? Hey, you want to be an assistant coach or consultant? Would you be open for that?
Oh, most definitely, yes, most definitely, yes. I know Norman would be like, "Well, John, look, we gotta win. If we don't win tonight, John, you gotta go home." Like,
that's pressure.
Yeah, that's pressure. But no, like I said, I miss the Philippines, man. It was the best country in the world. Green Hills Mall?
Yes.
I was there I would say every single day except the night before games. I was in Green Hills Mall. Shout out to my man Kerwin Chua, who put me up on my video games and all of that stuff because I used to always go there and learn about different things. So that's why I respect the Philippines because they all taught me so much. So I would love to come back, but I just don't want that pressure of playing and scoring 30 points. See, now you got me thinking. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that.
Well, were you able to check your, right now with the technology and stuff, there are some games that are being shown in the YouTube, and were you able to catch some of your games there?
I have not caught it. I think Chris sent me some clips of the championship.
Yeah.
And I tried to search some, but I think I'm putting in the wrong titles. But yeah, I would love to see some old foot. I would love to see some pictures, man. Like I want to show my children because now I got 5 children, so I want to show them the importance of the Philippines that impacted my life. And because I spent so much time there, I want my children to see the legacy and the people that made me who I am.
Well, the pictures that I've shown you came from Facebook. I'll just tag you there.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
I have some questions right now. So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
before we end this interview, you just think. I mean, you just answer the first thing that comes from your mind, in your mind.
First thing,
Okay. Favorite PBA player.
Benji Paras,
Favorite NBA player.
Michael Jordan,
Favorite team in the NBA growing up.
the Celtics,
Who do you think will win the NBA this season?
the Clippers,
PBA player that you had a hard time defending.
what's the big guy from Pure Foods?
Jerry Cordiniera.
Yep, Jerry Cordonera, yes.
Yes. Worst injury that you had.
I had some broken ribs in Germany. They hit me real hard. They fouled me real hard. I'll never forget that. Yes.
Now, if you were given the chance to choose, would you rather be a good defender or a good scorer?
I think defender, because you would be responsible for stopping that top scorer. So I would be like I would want to be like a Rodman. He's not a big scorer, but look what he did in his career and for the Chicago Bulls. They would not have won the championship without a Dennis Rodman.
Now,
I know that sounds crazy because I was an offensive, player in the Philippines.
now, if we were to check your gym bag before when you were playing, what things are we going to see that will surprise or shock us?
You're gonna see a Sony Walkman. I think that's what they were called back then, with the CD players and all that. You would see like some gummy bear candies. You would see some candies, some peanut butter cups, and you would see a lot of snacks. You see a lot of snacks in my gym bag. Huh?
Is that allowed, for a player to eat
Yeah,
something?
yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. I snuck it in my bag, and I made sure nobody saw it. So when I would leave practice, I could, eat some snacks.
Okay. So, I mean, that wraps up our episode for Extra Session this week. This is a great walk in the memory for us. And, of course, for you.
Man. And also the fans, man. I got to send a special shout out to the Filipino fans, because even though you had your, Ginebras, you had your San Miguel's and Santa Lucia, you had fans, they always showed me respect off the court. And one time I was deep down in, I think it was Manila City. I went to go buy some fabric one time, and they told me, John, you don't need to go down to this. It was down by the water. There's some downtown Manila. It was somewhere in Manila, but it was a place where they said, John, don't go. And I went anyway. And it was the best experiences because I saw people that had on San Miguel shirts to be like, John Best, hey. And it was a respect thing. And that's what I love about the Filipino fans. Now, when it was game time, yeah, they wanted to see me foul out and sit down. But off the court, it was a respect thing. And that's so shout out to all of the fans, shout out to the Filipino people, because it's just so much, man. I can go on, but you all have really touched my life, touched my family life, and we always remember that time in the Philippines.
Okay, so of course I would like to thank our guest, Mr. John Best. Thank you for spending time with us. I know you're very busy, and it was a great honor for us, to have you in our podcast. Hope we can have you sometime again in the near future.
Anytime. The answer is yes, man. Just hit me up. Hey, how is y'all dealing with the coronavirus over there?
Well, we're currently under general community quarantine. Before it was in ECQ, and then it was downgraded to the GCQ already, general community quarantine. However, of course, it is required right now for us to wear a mask, and of course, when we go out, and then it is advised that you should not go out unless it is very, it is it is needed to go out. However, they already allowed, if I'm not mistaken, the professional teams in the PBA to
Hmm.
resume practices.
So
So
they can practice now.
yeah, they can resume practice. But for recreational basketball, it's still a no-no. But they
Hmm.
only allow the professional teams, the volleyball and the basketball, to resume those games.
Now,
So
do y'all have
hopefully,
to wear masks out in public?
but you have to wear a mask once
You
you go
have to
out.
wear a mask.
Yes. So
Okay.
hopefully this, this COVID thing, this coronavirus will be done anytime soon so that, we can enjoy life again.
Right.
Okay. So
Well,
John,
listen. Last thing.
yes,
What's your president's name right now?
it's Rodrigo Duterte.
Yeah, man. I saw some clips of him, and I was like, in his demeanor reminded me of some of the players back in the PBA. Like he had a serious look on his face, and I
Mhm.
could tell I don't know the background of him, but he seems like he's true Filipino, and that's what I remember from a lot of those basketball players, that passion and that hunger. And he seems like I don't know how he's doing in the polls or how he's leading the country right now, but what I saw in him is what I saw in a lot of those Filipino players. They are not no pushovers, and I always will respect the Filipino Basketball Association.
Thank you so much, John. This has been a great interview for me. I hope
Oh yes, this is beautiful, man.
yeah,
Hopefully you might get me to come. I might can come over there now that you done put it out there, and maybe somebody say, John, hey, you want to come back and do a tour? I'm like, hey, yes,
yeah,
yes,
pretty sure. Once this clip goes out, maybe
yeah.
some of them will reach out to you, and
But they
hopefully.
know what it is, man. I love the Philippines when I was there. If everybody checked all my interviews, I always talked about how I loved it. And I'm still now, I'm almost 50 and I'm still talking about my
Yeah,
love for the Philippines. So that lets you know how much that your country and your people and the PBA means to me. And I can't stress it enough, man. I love the Filipino people and the country and the PBA.
thank you so much, John. This is an honor for us because I know I only see few clips of you being interviewed. So uh, for me, I mean, allowing me to interview this is a great honor for me already.
Well, look, it's an honor for me that somebody even remembered me because now people, they like, John, who, you played ball? You was any good? I was like, I was all right, but I love to talk to the young players because that's where our future is at. And the future of the PBA lies in those young ballers in the PBA. Do they have girl basketball players? Has that picked up over there
Yes.
professionally?
Oh well, professional league not yet, but I mean, we do have a league for
In
girls.
college and after college or in
Yes,
college?
in college also. After
Okay.
college also, they have some small leagues, and fortunately, our 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 female basketball team have already won a gold medal in the Southeast Asian Games.
Good,
So
good.
one step at
Okay.
a time. So John,
Okay, cool.
thank you so much again, and
Again,
like what I said, maybe sometime in the near future we would be able to have you again. So, ladies
yes.
and gentlemen, Mr. John Best, this has been Kiko Malicdem on behalf of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate-Philippines. Games are always exciting if there is extra session.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And if you want to know more, check out www.guerrillapodcast.com.au or guerrillapodcast.com.ph. A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production.